So moving forward, there is a question by one of the student. Uh, there is a question by a student, why do we sequence the protein? See, proteins are to be sequenced in order to get the information about the amino acid coding for the protein. हम प्रोटीन की सीक्वेंसिंग इसलिए करते हैं ताकि हम प्रोटीन की इंफॉर्मेशन को ऑब्टेन कर सकें, that what is the sequence of amino acid present within the structure of protein. That is of critical importance. For example, see, you would have heard about sickle cell anemia. In the case of sickle cell anemia, what is going to happen? There is a mutation at a single point where the glutamate get transformed with valine, get interchanged with valine, and because of this mutation, GAG getting mutated to GUG, the entire mutations takes place. Now, which critical amino acid is responsible for the activity of protein? Why and how a protein functions? Which are the critical amino acids which are required for the evolution of proteins? So all those information are present within the structure of protein. ठीक है, इसीलिए that is why we used to perform the sequencing in order to understand how the proteins works. See, one more thing, if you are not able to join the meeting, you must always move out of the meeting and then rejoin the meeting. If there is any problem, if there is any query, then you can text it up to me after the class also. Okay, after we have hydrolyzed the protein, the acidic as well as basic hydrolysis has been done, then what we have to do is that we will have to then analyze the amino acids which have been separated through ion exchange chromatography or via HPLC in order to identify all these different types of amino acids. All these amino acids can be effectively identified by the use of ion exchange chromatography or through this HPLC, high performance liquid chromatography. Then after that, what other thing that we can do is that we can separate the proteins and then perform the N-terminal sequencing. I have already told you that the N-terminal sequencing involves a reagent which is referred to as 1,4,2,4-dinitrobenzene, which is also referred to as Sanger's reagent. The Sanger's reagent reacts with the N-terminus group of the amino acid. Once it reacts with the N-terminus group of the amino acid, then it gives a yellow color derivative. And once the yellow color derivative is being obtained, then this yellow color derivative can be effectively used for the identification of a particular amino acid. We can identify a particular amino acid by identifying this yellow color derivative which is there. Okay. Now, after the Sanger sequencing method, the other methods were being used because this Sanger reagent which was being used, the Sanger reagent was highly toxic. It was poisonous as this reagent was highly toxic. So we have used another reagent that is referred to as densyl chloride and dapsyl chloride methods. So the other reagents that have been used is the densyl chloride, 1,1-dimethyl amino naphthalene 5-sulfonyl chloride. It's clearly written here. See this densyl chloride, 1,1-dimethyl amino naphthalene 5-sulfonyl chloride. Dapsyl chloride, 1,1-dimethyl azobenzene 5-sulfonyl chloride will be referred to as the dapsyl chloride. You should never forget their full forms. Their structures are of adequate importance for CSIR and other entrance examination. All these structures could be effectively asked. Questions based upon these structures have also been asked in different competitive examinations, so you must remember their structure. Okay, now what happens with these compounds? Why these compounds are being used? These compounds, for example, 5-1-1, see this 1,1-dimethyl amino naphthalene 5-sulfonyl chloride is being used. This reacts with the N-terminus amino group of an amino acid and liberates out the HCl. Once it liberates out the HCl, एक बार HCl बाहर निकल जाता है, then what happens? This group reacts with the N-terminus amino acid and lead to the formation of densyl polypeptide. It will lead to the formation of densyl polypeptide. Once the densyl polypeptide has been produced, then what is going to happen? After the production of the densyl polypeptide has taken place, then the other amino acids gets freed. The other amino acid can be effectively freed, so the entire protein is being destroyed. The entire protein gets destroyed because of this particular method. Another method which has been used is referred to as the Dapsyl chloride method. Now, what is this Dapsyl chloride method? Dapsyl chloride is another derivative equivalent to the first one, that is referred to as Densyl chloride. 1,1-dimethyl azobenzene 5-sulfonyl chloride is referred to as Dapsyl chloride. Dapsyl chloride as well as Densyl chloride are aromatic compounds in nature. They have ring-shaped structures within themselves. As these have ring-shaped structures within themselves, so they have the ability to absorb the UV radiation. Any molecule which has aromaticity, which has multiple resonating structures, has the ability to absorb the UV radiation. Even a double bond can absorb the UV radiation. Do you know that in a protein, the peptide bond, which is referred to as CONH2 bond, can also absorb the UV radiations, but it absorbs at 190 nanometer. That is, X-ray spectroscopy is being used as one of the latest tool in order to determine the presence of protein via in any test tube or in any container. See, if you want to identify that a protein is present in a sample, then what could be done? Without destructing the protein, you can perform a simple qualitative test, that is the absorption of UV radiation at 280 nanometer, or the most effective method could be the absorption of UV radiation at 190 nanometer. 190 नैनोमीटर पे प्रोटीन यूवी रेडिएशन को एब्जॉर्ब करती है, क्योंकि पेप्टाइड बॉन्ड यूवी रेडिएशन को 190 नैनोमीटर पे एब्जॉर्ब करता है, because proteins has peptide bond, and peptide bond has the ability to absorb at 190 nanometer. Okay, well, we are talking about the Dapsyl chloride. Dapsyl chloride also react, and when react with the N-terminus amino acid, and when the Dapsyl chloride is reacting, then what is going to happen? This reaction can be used for the separation of the N-terminus amino acid, and the other amino acid are also being separated apart from each other. Okay, well, there is a query from one of our student. So Harsh Agrawal is going to ask something. Sir, ये तो फिर किसी basic amino acid का free amino group से भी react कर सकता है? Oh, very important question, Harsh. You are see, one of our student is going to ask a question. He's saying, sir, if there is any side group of a basic amino acid, then that side group can also react with the chloride ions, with the chloride atoms which are present here. I will have to annotate this. A good question. See this chloride, what I am trying to say is that this chloride is reacting with this hydrogen. Okay, and this would be liberated here in the form of HCl. This is what I am saying. Now, one of the student is going to ask a query. He has a query that why this chloride cannot react with any amino group. For example, arginine has a side group, a basic side group, NH2. This is a basic side group. Now see this basic side group, can this chloride react with this hydrogen and form the similar reaction? And if this is going to be produced, then the entire reaction, then the entire purpose will be lost. Absolutely, you are absolutely correct with this one. The thing is that because it has an ability to react with these side groups, that is why N-terminus sequencing alone cannot be used as an effective method for protein sequencing. क्योंकि N-terminus sequencing के अंदर यहाँ पर ये जो ग्रुप लगे हुए हैं, ये साइड ग्रुप के साथ में भी रिएक्ट कर सकते हैं. बिल्कुल सही बात है आपकी. तो इसको हम एक इफेक्टिव मेथड नहीं मानते कभी भी N-terminus sequencing के लिए. ठीक है, हम इसके लिए क्या करते हैं, हम N-terminus sequencing को अलग अलग मेथड से करते हैं. जैसे अभी आप देखेंगे मोस्ट इफेक्टिव मेथड आने वाला है एडवांस डिग्रेडेशन मेथड. एडवांस डिग्रेडेशन मेथड को ही हम यूज करते हैं, और केवल N-terminus सीक्वेंसिंग भी नहीं करते, N-terminus भी करेंगे, C-terminus भी करेंगे. अभी मैंने आपको बताया पूरी प्रोटीन को आपने हाइड्रोलाइज किया था, उसे भी करेंगे, और फिर इन सबकी कंपैरेटिव एनालिसिस को देख के हम बताएंगे कि प्रोटीन का स्ट्रक्चर क्या है. There cannot be a single method being used to analyze the structure of protein. A single N-terminus method cannot be used. We perform the protein sequencing via N-terminus, via C-terminus, via complete hydrolysis, and then we use to determine the structure of proteins. Okay, just a second. Okay, that's all. Now, this is how we used to analyze the structure of protein. Then you have performed hydrolysis. Once the hydrolysis has been performed, then this hydrolysis is being performed and the molecules are being broken apart from each other. Okay, so this is how hydrolysis is being performed. Next, after that, see, majority of the students are moving again and again to the waiting room, and this is irritating. This is really irritating. Please do not move yourself to the waiting room, so that the lecture can go on without any disturbance. You'll have to learn certain things. I will set certain rules and regulation and will reformat this Zoom application for you all in tomorrow's class. Now see, the next method that we are going to use is the Edman degradation method, the most effective method to analyze the structure of protein. Edman degradation methods involves a step-by-step method for the sequential removal of amino acid residue from the end terminus of the polypeptide. This is a step-by-step sequential method in which the amino acids can be removed sequentially one after the other. Okay, so there could be the first step, the second step, and the third step, and these steps could be sequentially used in order to determine the structure of proteins. Okay, the first step could be the coupling, the second would be the cyclization, the third would be referred to as the conversion. In the case of coupling, the first step, phenyl isothiocyanate, a chemical compound is being used, which is also referred to as Edman's reagent, the most important compound. It is used for determining the complete sequence of the protein. Now, how the sequence should be determined, how the cyclization should be done, that we are going to see. Okay. Now see, let us go with the reaction cycle, that how the reaction cycle is going to proceed, in what manner the reaction cycle is going to proceed, that we will have to see. See, phenyl isothiocyanate is present. This phenyl isothiocyanate will also react with the N-terminus amino group. Another student who asked that it could also react with any side group. Yes, of course, it could react with the side group, but assuming that this is reacting with this only. Now, when this reaction is going to take place, let me annotate this out. When this reaction is going to take place, this sulfur is going to react with this particular compound, N-terminus, and there would be a bond that would be produced. Here is the bond that is being produced, and then acidic hydrolysis being brought out, then acidic hydrolysis being done so as to selectively remove the phenyl thiohydrantoin derivative. We have removed a derivative that is referred to as phenyl thiohydrantoin derivative, and this phenyl thiohydrantoin derivative could be effectively separated apart from the structures. Okay, so from the structure we can separate the phenyl thiohydrantoin derivative, and with gas chromatography we can determine its structure as well as determine the type of amino acid which is bound to it. Now look here, this is the methodology which is being used in the case of Edman degradation method. In the Edman degradation method, what is being done? The Edman reagent firstly reacts with the first amino acid. When it reacts with the first amino acid, then after reacting with the first amino acid, it forms a covalent interaction, a covalent bond with the first one. Then what happens? Then it breaks apart the first one. Then it binds a covalent interaction with the second. Then it breaks apart the second one, and this is how the molecules are being released in a sequential manner, one after the other. Okay, so there, this is how the things happens, and the molecules are being moved apart one after the other. Now, in principle, the entire protein cannot be directly sequenced using Edman degradation method. In principle, no Edman degradation method cannot sequence the entire structure of protein. So at the same time, could it react with side groups? Yes, at the same time, it can react with the side groups. No, either it will react with the side group Shreya or it will react with the main group, but it will have a reaction to take place. Now, Shreya is also confused with this particular point, that this sulfur could also react with the side group as well as with the main group. Yes, it can react with the side group amino group if it is present, but what is going to happen? Either it will react with the side group or it will react with the main group. Okay, so even if it reacts with the side group, then it could produce certain confusions. So what happens is that we used to protect the other structure and makes the reaction happens at the side group only. Then again and again, when the reactions are being reproduce, that means the reactions are being performed one after the other and we get the same sequencing result, then only we say that our sequencing is correct, else not. Okay, once you perform sequencing, you cannot perform a sequencing within a single period of time. You have to repeat your experiment again and again, and then only you say that okay, now my sequencing is correct, else not. Okay, so now moving forward, another question from my student. Sir, at the same time, could it's done, I have solved, I have answered this question. Now after that, what has happened is that now the sequencing is over. After that, there is a question which has been asked. Let me remove these annotations, clear the drawing out. Okay, the drawings have been made clear. Edmond degradation involves the sequential removal of one amino acid after the other. How it is determined which amino acid has been removed previously and which amino acid has been removed after a certain period of time. Now, a very precise and calculated amount of Edmond degradation reagent is being added in such a manner that it can react only with the one N-terminus amino acid residue, okay, of a protein, and then again the experiment is being repeated again and again. Another answer to the above question. See, even if this Edmond degradation reagent, this sulfur reacts with the side group, then also after reacting with the side group, the cyclization step will never take place. And if the cyclization step will never take place, the phenyl thiohydrantoin derivative will never be produced. The phenyl thiohydrantoin, this particular derivative can only be produced if it reacts with this particular side group, that is from the N-terminus side group. N-terminus group. Only after reacting with the N-terminus group, the phenyl thiohydrantoin derivative will be produced. That is why the reaction is said to be adequately effective for sequencing to occur. Okay, just clearing all the things, moving forward. Now, determine the sequence of the polypeptide from the C-terminal. There is another method that can be used. In this method, what we can do, we can determine the sequence of the polypeptide through another method that is referred to as the C-terminal sequencing. Now, the C-terminal sequencing is another method which has been effectively used, in which the polypeptide can be sequenced from the C-terminus. Now, see, if there is a polypeptide, supposingly this is a polypeptide in nature, there is a C-terminus, there is an N-terminus. Okay, so firstly we have moved from the N-terminus towards the C-terminus in the first method. The methods which were being used was Edmond degradation, which were being used was Sanger's method, Sanger sequencing. The next one was Densyl chloride method. Then there was Debsyl chloride method, and the last one was Edmond degradation method. Now what we are going to do is we are going to move from the C to the N-terminus, and this method is going to take place from the C-terminus to the N-terminus. We are going to move, and that would be referred to as the C-terminal sequencing method. Now we are going to use the C-terminal sequencing method. So several different methods based upon the use of different chemicals have been employed for the sequencing of polypeptide from the N-terminus residue. These include the Sanger sequencing by hydrazenolysis. Now, what do you mean by hydrazenolysis? In the case of hydrazenolysis, there is a chemical reagent that is made to react with the C-terminus amino group that is referred to as hydrazine. And hydrazine has an ability, NH2/NH2. This compound has an ability to react with the C-terminus amino acid. Once it reacts with the C-terminus amino acid, it liberates the C-terminus amino acid and makes it free, which can be effectively and readily identified through chromatography assays. Through chromatography, we can effectively identify it out. Just a minute. Okay. In this process also, only the C-terminus residue is going to be identified. केवल और केवल एक C-terminus residue को आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हो, बाकी पूरी प्रोटीन क्या हो जाएगी, फ्रेगमेंट्स में टूट जाएगी, हिस्सों में टूट जाएगी, और उस प्रोटीन को आप आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर पाओगे. तो पूरी की पूरी in this process the entire polypeptide is destroyed and no further sequencing can take place. Further sequencing of the protein cannot take place. Another method that is being used is referred to as enzymatic cleavage. Now there are several different types of enzymes that could be used, and there are chemical methods, chemical cleavage method. For example, in the case of chemical cleavage, you can look at Cyanogen bromide, CNBr. CNBr is always going to break the peptide bond on the carboxy terminus of methylene residue. Now, supposingly there is a polypeptide chain. मान लीजिए there is a polypeptide chain. I am drawing a polypeptide chain: alanine, glycine, okay, valine, methionine, cysteine, okay, tyrosine. There is an N terminus and there is a C terminus. Okay, there is an N terminus and here there is a C terminus. Okay, this is C terminus, this is N terminus. Now you have applied cyanogen bromide over it. आपने इसके ऊपर लगा दिया cyanogen bromide, अप्लाई कर दिया. तो भाई cyanogen bromide किस तरीके से ब्रेक करेगा इसे, ये हमें समझने की जरूरत है. Cyanogen bromide कैसे ब्रेक करेगा? It will break the carboxy side of methionine. That means it is going to break the methionine at this particular side. The carboxy side, COOH group side of the methionine, that peptide bond is going to be broken. Now, if after cyanogen bromide you are using another reagent, that is isobenzoate, it will cleave at the carboxy side of tryptophan. Okay, so supposingly there is a tryptophan molecule which is present here. There is a tryptophan. Okay, I'm drawing a W molecule here. Tryptophan molecule is present, and you are using this particular reagent. This particular reagent will break here. It will cause this bond to be broken down because it will break at the C terminus, towards the C terminus of the tryptophan residue. Hydroxylamine again will break at asparagine and at aspartate and glycine. Then there are other chemical agents that could be used, and that is 2-nitro-5-thiocyanogen bromate benzoate that can be used to break down at the C amino acid side of the cysteine residue. There are other chemical agents. There are other enzymes that could also be used. These enzymes include the trypsin, the chymotrypsin reagent. The trypsin can be effectively moved and can be effectively cleaved at the carboxy side of lysine and arginine residue. Chymotrypsin can be broken, can cleave the peptide bond at the carboxy side of tyrosine, tryptophan, and phenylalanine. See, what is the trick for chymotrypsin? The trick for chymotrypsin would be, the trick for chymotrypsin will be that I am aromatic. I would have written certain tricks. Okay, I have not written those tricks. There would be tricks given somewhere. Okay, so I will be making you remember all of these through certain tricks that would be available on your groups. The first trick is that about chymotrypsin is that it is aromatic. So chymotrypsin is aromatic and will cleave only the carboxy terminus peptide bond of the aromatic amino acid. Which are the aromatic amino acid? Tyrosine, tryptophan, and phenylalanine. So these are the aromatic amino acids that could be broken down. So what would be the trick? I'm just writing a trick. The trick would be for chymotrypsin, the trick is I am aromatic. I am aromatic. Okay, this is the trick for chymotrypsin, because it cleaves only aromatic, as it cleaves only aromatic amino acids. So it has an ability to cleave only aromatic amino acids. So this is the trick that is being used for the case of chymotrypsin. Okay, so this is how we use this trick for chymotrypsin. Okay, now trypsin, arginine and lysine. Trypsin is the one which will cleave at arginine and lysine, and then there are other amino acids. There are other compounds. Carboxypeptidase. Carboxypeptidase has the ability to break at the C-terminus residues of the basic amino acids such as arginine, lysine, and the other one that is referred to as proline. So arginine, lysine, and proline can be effectively broken at their C-terminus residue with the help of the enzyme that is referred to as carboxypeptidase. Now, after this, what we would be reading is that enzymatic hydrolysis, how the enzymatic hydrolysis takes place. Cleavage occurs at all C-terminal amino acid residue except proline. देखिए प्रोलीन के आगे कभी भी क्लीवेज नहीं होता, उसे हम कैसे समझने वाले हैं? See, the structure of proline resembles that of temple. So what is going to happen is that if there is a proline, this is how the structure of proline appears. Here it is NH2 group. Okay, this is NH2 group. Okay, this is how the structure of protein appear, and this would be referred to as the carboxylic group. Okay, this is the carboxylic group. This is the structure of proline. So what it appears? It appears like a temple. Okay, so whenever you are entering a temple, there is a golden rule: you cannot cleave anyone in front of the temple. So towards the Rn side, if there is proline, then the cleavage is not going to take place. And after the proline, at the back of the proline, at this particular side, yes, cleavage is going to take place. Towards the N-terminus side, no cleavage is going to take place. No cleavage. No cleavage. Okay. Now this could be understood by assuming a diagram from the Pathfinder. ठीक है, हम Pathfinder की किताब को निकालेंगे और Pathfinder की किताब से इसे अच्छे से समझेंगे. सर नहीं समझ में आया? Yes, I'm going to again revise this particular thing through the book of Pathfinder, because we can understand it through Pathfinder only. Now, before we move forward, up till now, what we have studied, we are going to revise it through an through a PowerPoint presentation that is also being shown here. Now, see, in this PowerPoint presentation, what we are going to visualize is all the things that we have studied up till now. Now, what is protein sequencing? The first sequencing of protein was being catalyzed by Frederick Sanger in 1953. He was able to sequence the amino acid within the protein that is referred to as insulin, for which Sanger was also awarded Nobel Prize in 1958. Then after Sanger, first strategy that should be used: determine number of polypeptide chain, that I have already told you. Determine number of disulfide bond. Both inter and intra-chain disulfide bonds must be identified in a protein structure. Determine the amino acid composition of protein by acidic or basic hydrolysis. If the protein is very large, then we must fragment the protein into pieces. Okay. Sequence each piece of the protein via Edman degradation method. So the most important method for the sequencing of protein would be Edman degradation, and then the complete hydrolysis of the protein could be made and could be understood. The N-terminal sequencing could be carried out by dinyl chloride method, phenyl isothiocyanate or Edman reagent method, or aminopeptidases which can cleave at the N-terminus side, and lastly the C-terminus analysis by carboxypeptidases or the enzymatic hydrolysis. C-terminus sequencing कैसे करते हैं? enzymatic hydrolysis से या carboxypeptidases से. इस एनिमेशन को भी, इस पीपीटी को भी हमें देखना है, इसलिए मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ थोड़ा सा. अभी ये भी ग्रुप में शेयर हो जाएगी तो आप लोग उसके अंदर देख पाएंगे. Just a minute, majority of the students are asking me to add them up. Okay. Now, N-terminus analysis with dinyl chloride. When you are using the dinyl chloride is going to react with the N-terminus. When the dinyl chloride reacts with the N-terminus, then again the HCl is being removed, the dinyl polypeptide and the dinyl amino groups are being formed. This we have already studied. The N-terminus Edman degradation reaction, how phenyl isothiocyanate was being produced. This we have studied. Now, Edman degradation method. Okay, phenyl thiohydrantoin derivative that could be identified. Now, the question that has been asked in CSIR, phenyl thiohydrantoin derivative, the compound that is being produced after the end product of the Edman degradation, will show an absorbance at 296 nanometer. Okay. Now, N-terminal analysis or Edman degradation can be effectively carried out, and this method is only effective for short proteins of 40 to 60 amino acid long. Then Edman degradation or protein sequencing can be effectively carried out. Now, there are byproducts of the Edman degradation, not at all important. Disulfide bond cleavages, I have already told you, beta percaptoethanol or dithiothiritol treatment could be used for their degradation. Protection of sulfhydryl group. Okay, iodoacetate could be used in order to prevent the reformation of disulfide bonds in between the molecules that have been separated. एक बार जो molecules separate हो चुके हैं, उनके बीच में जो bond है उसे दोबारा से नहीं बनने देना है, उसके लिए हम क्या यूज करते हैं, उसके लिए हम यूज करते हैं आयोडोएसीटेट मॉलिक्यूल को. ओके, वी यूज अ मॉलिक्यूल दैट इज रेफर्ड टू एज आयोडोएसीटेट. नेक्स्ट, after that, separation and molecular weight determination of subunits. The molecular weight could be determined for different subunits by SDS page, by Markov mass spectroscopy, and once you have identified the molecular weight of protein, the amino acid composition could be identified. All the amino acids composition strategies which have been used can be effectively compared in order to identify the sequence of amino acid. सारी strategies जो अभी तक आपने यूज की हैं, iodoestate is also act as an inhibitor. Who is this one who is asking? See, there is a student who is asking iodoestate is also act as an inhibitor. Yes, iodoestate is an inhibitor. Now see, very important point. See, you would have studied glycolysis. In the case of glycolysis, there is the sixth reaction. The sixth reaction that takes place in the case of glycolysis. Yes, it is an inhibitor. Now, which is this inhibitor? The sixth step of the glycolysis is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphodehydrogenase. There is an enzyme, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. Please. A very important question has been asked by a student. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphodehydrogenase. I'm just writing it out. Glyceraldehyde dehyde 3-phosphodehydrogenase is inhibited by iodoacetate. Because why it is being inhibited by iodoacetate in glycolysis? Because this enzyme, the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, has a structure, and that structure could be made like this. Now see this. This would be the structure of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. It will have sulfur here, and these sulfur will be bound to another sulfur. Okay, like this. First reaction center, the second reaction center which is present in it. There are 4 reaction centers which are present in this particular enzyme. These 4 reaction centers have 4 different disulfide linkages present within themselves. Now, iodoacetate and beta-mercaptoethanol is going to break all these disulfide linkages, and thus any enzyme which has disulfide linkages within itself will always be inhibited by iodoacetate. Now see, antibodies. What about these antibodies? Antibodies have disulfide linkages. Yes, iodoacetate is an inhibitor for the formation of antibodies. Insulin, if this is insulin, okay, if this is insulin and iodoacetate, yes, iodoacetate would be an inhibitor of insulin in nature. Any molecule which has a double bond present within itself, papain has a double bond molecule, has a covalent disulfide linkage present within itself, could also be inhibited by iodoacetate. A very good question by a student. I didn't know your name, but you are asking very good questions. Okay, good. Next is that now, after the entire protein molecule has been segregated, the enzymatic hydrolysis have been done, the separation has been done. Now there is an increased selectivity which could be sensitivity that could be used. The post column derivations could be done, and that could be used for increasing the sensitivity of the reactions. The affinity chromatography can be categorized, can be also catalyzed, and this is how the entire process of sequencing is being done. This is the enzymatic cleavage that I was talking to you. Trypsin has the ability to cleave at arginine and lysine, except the next amino acid residue should not be proline. Well, with this point, we are going to start from Pathfinder. In Pathfinder, this point is given much more effectively, where we would be talking about how the enzymatic hydrolysis can take place. There is a concept of Rn and Rn minus 1, and there is a trick also that could be made for remembering this cleavage, where trypsin is going to cleave, where this chymotrypsin is going to cleave, where other different compounds are going to cleave, different enzymes are going to cleave. This is the trypsin digestion that is going to take place. Now, After the trypsin digestion, there are other enzymes that could be used. For example, endopeptidases. Pepsin cleaves the amino acid as at phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan. Chymotrypsin has the ability to cleave at phenylalanine, tryptophan, and tyrosine. Endopeptidase has the ability to cleave at C-terminus of glutamate. Exopeptidase has the ability to cleave at the N-terminus of leucine, and so on. This is how the different compounds, this is how the different enzymes can cleave the amino acid residue of different proteins. Now, cyanogen bromide cleaves towards the methyl residue of the protein, towards the C terminus of the methyl residue of the protein. Then the sequence determination could take place, and ultimately all the methods can be compared with regard to each other in order to get the sequence of the protein. There are solid phase metrics, the Merrifield resin process, which can also be used in order for the Edman degradation to take place. In this method, what is being used, what is being done is that a chemical reagent, a chemical scaffold is being provided on which the protein is being bound, and then Edman reagent is being added, so that Edman reagent can sequentially remove a single amino acid followed by the next in order to completely lyse the protein. There is a query. Sir, kya padha rahe ho? Oh, see, this is protein sequencing going on. Harsh Agarwal raised hand. Okay, Harsh Agarwal. Yes, what do you want to ask, Harsh, please? Harsh, what do you want to ask? You want to ask something? Please speak. Harsh, please speak. You wanted to ask
nothing, sir. गलती से click हो गया था.
Okay, just make it mute. Okay, now after Edman degradation method, in this a solid support, in this is another modified version of the Edman degradation method, the latest one which is being used and is commonly referred to as the Merrifield resin method. In this method, what is being done, there is a resin, there is a chemical resin which is being used, over which compounds are being bounded. This is referred to as Merrifield resin. This ensures that Edman reagent can effectively act over the N-terminus amino acid residue. ये Merrifield resin इस बात को इंश्योर करता है कि Edman reagent N-terminus residue पे एक्ट कर सकें, और एक एक करके it would be effective to remove the amino acid one by one. What do you mean by Merrifield? See, Merrifield is the name of a scientist. This is just nothing. This is just a name of the scientist who developed this particular resin at which the amino acid sequence, the protein, this is a protein, this protein has been bounded. And once this protein has been bounded, then this protein could be effectively degraded with the help of this Edman degradation method, so that you can identify which is the first amino acid to be cleaved, which is the second one, which is the third one, and so on. And then this is the graph that is being obtained. This is the graph that is being obtained after the Edman degradation methods. There are several different types of proteins which are being identified through this particular path. What is the chemical nature of resin? What is the best method of sequencing? Hey, everybody know that Edman degradation method is the best method of sequencing. But now modified Edman degradation method, that is referred to as Merrifield resin assisted Edman degradation method, became the best method for sequencing. I'm writing this out. मैं इसे लिख रहा हूं ताकि आप समझ सकें. The modified Edman degradation method is Merrifield resin assisted Edman degradation method which is being used. So this is the most effective method for the protein sequencing to take place. Okay, Merrifield resin is a cross-linked polystyrene resin. Okay, so Merrifield resin is just nothing. It is just a cross-linked polystyrene resin that carries a chloromethyl function group. And Merrifield resin is named after its inventor, that is referred to as Merrifield. It was Merrifield who invented this particular resin, and that is why it is commonly referred to as the Merrifield resin. Okay, if anybody want to get any information about Merrifield resin, it's written here. Okay, and that for that he won the Nobel Prize in chemistry because of its application in demand degradation process. Okay, now moving forward, let us move forward. And as we move forward, what we are going to get is that we are going to get demand degradation graphs. There would be graphs that would be applicable. Now I'm going to remove these annotations. Okay, there would be graphs that would be obtained. Now see this: D, N, Q, E, all these are different types of amino acid residues that has been obtained from the elution curve, and this elution curve could be used in order to identify the sequence of amino acids from the N terminus towards the C terminus. From the N terminus towards the C terminus, the protein could be effectively identified. The sequence of the protein can now be known. This is how Edman degradation method is being used. Majority of you would be knowing that A for alanine, H for histidine. Now what is this G? This is aspartate. N, aspargine. Q, glutamine, and so on. So on, you are going to get the different amino acid residues. Okay. Okay, another query. What is the meaning of the height which are formed by the graph? Okay, another very good question. See, this is what happens when you teach genius students. Now see, the height of the graph indicates the confidence level that this, why there is a lot of deviation in graph. Yes, I'm coming to your answers. Just let me answer one by one. There are so many queries everybody is asking. Just give me a second, at least wait for some time. See, there are differences in heights, differences in peak heights, which indicates the confidence limit of the amino acid residue that has been determined. Okay, now see, what does this mean? Supposingly this amino acid, I'm just going to draw, point an amino acid, D, this amino acid. Okay, I'm pointing at this amino acid, and I'm pointing at another amino acid which let us assume to be which is a small amino acid. Let me assume that this is A, alanine. The confidence that at this particular position aspartate is present is very high as compared to the confidence that at this particular place alanine is present. Okay, if this is A, so this indicates the effectiveness of the graph, effectiveness of the process. ये बताता है. Now I'm telling in Hindi also. See, the presence of a great height in D graph. D का ग्राफ बड़ा है, ये बता रहा है इस पोजीशन पे D है और कोई नहीं है, और यहाँ पर A का ग्राफ छोटा है, इसका मतलब है कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल कम है. The level of the confidence in A is less. There could be another amino acid at its place. The Edman degradation is not very effective. You can see this V. If I am assuming it to be V, this graph is not very clear. It is of low resolution. You get a very good resolution graph after the Edman degradation. Let this be valine. The confidence of getting this valine is very less. So Shreya, what is the question that you asked was that why there is a lot of deviation in the graph? There is a lot of deviation in the graph because Edman degradation reaction can identify many amino acid residues very effectively. See, majority of the amino acid residue have high peaks, means they can be effectively identified, and they have there we have lots and lots of confidence that yes, these are the amino acid residue. But there are certain amino acid residue which are appearing low in the Edman degradation. That means their confidence level at these points is very low. This is why Edman degradation is being done, and these are the graphs which are being made. Hopefully this would have been made understandable to you all. Now, this is how Edman degradation reaction is going to be taking place. Now, this is what I was trying to tell to you all. Now, ordering of polypeptide fragments. Now, trypsin is being used, and this is a polypeptide. Okay. Now, there is another query from two students. Sheikh who to everyone, what is the meaning of height? Sir, why there is a lot of deviation in graph? सर मतलब छोटे हाइट वाला कंफ्यूजन है सर, छोटे पीक का पर कंफ्यूजन कैसे दूर करें? Yes, you can effectively. Okay, I'm just answering your questions first. Now, see, another student asked, that means, sir, you are saying that small peaks have a low confidence value. That means there it could be confusion. Yes, there could be confusion at the small peaks. That is what I was speaking. You cannot only use N-terminus sequencing, you perform C-terminus sequencing also. On comparison of the C-terminus sequencing and N-terminus sequencing, this पोजीशन कुड बी इफेक्टिवली आइडेंटिफाइड. आप एक मेथड को यूज नहीं कर सकते बेटा, आपको एक से ज्यादा मेथड को यूज करना ही पड़ेगा. एडवांस डिग्रेडेशन एक बहुत अच्छा मेथड है, लेकिन 50 से 60 अमीनो एसिड के लिए यूज होता है. अगर आप देखेंगे, रुकिए एक सेकेंड, शेखू, आई एम टॉकिंग टू यू. सी, दिस इज द फर्स्ट images, first PDF that I was showing to you. What is written here? See, I'm just reading a line so that you can understand it out. Probably you were absent in the yesterday's class. The accuracy for the advanced degradation method is only 98%. That means it has an error rate of 2%. Thus, after 60 cycles, it is expected to be less than that of 30%. So, after 60 cycles of advanced degradation method, the accuracy gets reduced to 30%, because after multiple cycles, the error rates multiply. भैया एरर एक्यूमुलेट होता चला जाता है, एरर मल्टीप्लाई होता चला जाता है एडवांस डिग्रेडेशन में. इसलिए केवल एडवांस डिग्रेडेशन को बेटा आप यूज नहीं कर सकते, आपको एडवांस के साथ में सी टर्मिनल सीक्वेंसिंग भी करनी पड़ेगी. नाउ आई एम कमिंग टू द next question of the next student. Advanced degradation will also help in identifying the mutated amino acid residue. No, advanced degradation, see, if you are taking mutated protein, then that प्रोटीन विल बी सीक्वेंस थ्रू एडवांस डिग्रेडेशन. अगर एक म्यूटेटेड प्रोटीन ले ली तो उसकी सीक्वेंसिंग आप एडवांस डिग्रेडेशन से कर सकते हो. तो उससे तो आपको पता चल ही जाएगा ना कि किस जगह पे म्यूटेशन हुआ है, किस जगह पे म्यूटेशन नहीं हुआ है. तो ऑन दिस बेसिस, यस, एडवांस डिग्रेडेशन कैन बी यूज्ड टू आइडेंटिफाई विच अमीनो एसिड हैज बीन म्यूटेटेड इन अ प्रोटीन. ठीक है, जैसे अगर हम हीमोग्लोबिन और मायोग्लोबिन को कंपेयर करें, चलो हीमोग्लोबिन मायोग्लोबिन छोड़ देते हैं, सिकल सेल एनीमिया की प्रोटीन को और नॉर्मल हीमोग्लोबिन की प्रोटीन को कंपेयर कर लें, तो हमें पता चल जाएगा भैया ग्लूटामेट्री का वैल्यू आ गया है. किससे पता चलेगा? एडवांस डिग्रेडेशन मेथड से, सीक्वेंसिंग से पता चल जाएगा. बिल्कुल सही बात है, पता चल जाएगा. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन हम लेते हैं. देयर इज अनदर क्वेश्चन. ओके, हेल्प इन आइडेंटिफाइंग. ओके, दिस इज बीइंग डन. नाउ दिस इज अनदर क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम श्रेया. सर, हाउ why they say the confidence level is low in protein sequencing during advanced degradation? If you get a low peak score, you say that the protein sequencing confidence level is low. If you get high peak score, see, there are scores which are being shown here. यहाँ पर श्रेया देखिए, यहाँ पर स्कोर्स दिखा रखे हैं, ये देखिए ये स्कोर्स हैं, ये बताते हैं कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल है क्या. यहाँ से एक लाइन बना लीजिए, यहाँ से एक लाइन बना लीजिए, ये रही कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल. देखिए कितना परसेंट कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल है, हाई है इधर, और इसके नीचे जो नीचे वाले आ रहे हैं उसमें लो कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल है. ये कोई इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन नहीं हुआ. नेक्स्ट, एक और क्वेश्चन है एक और स्टूडेंट का. क्लियर हो गया? ओके, ओके, सो इट्स क्लियर टू ऑल. Okay, so dear students, this is how advanced degradation is being done. So probably we can move forward to C-terminus sequencing, and I'm very excited that majority of you are actively participating in this class, and we are having a very good discussion, one-to-one discussion that I was looking forward. Okay, so let us move towards yes. Yes, I do agree with KK sir, with Krishan Kumar Chhakar sir. There is another faculty who will be teaching you from tomorrow. Krishan Kumar Chhakar sir, he is from IIT Delhi. He is rank one holder at rank first holder at IIT Delhi. So he will be teaching you tomorrow. Tomorrow you will have a class of cell signaling. See, so there is shotgun proteomics coupling mass spectroscopy with high performance liquid chromatography. The next generation sequencing MS is also fast, best and high accuracy sequencing method that has been used after the advanced degradation method. Advanced degradation के method के बाद में एक और method use किया गया है जिसे हम MS बोलते हैं. इसे हम बोलते हैं बेटा MALDI-TOF. MALDI-TOF. Okay, this is the matrix assisted laser desorption ionization time of flight mass spectroscopy that could be effectively used. Okay, is the scoring in I'm coming to the next question. See, the next question is from a student who is saying that, So the scoring in Edman degradation is going in opposite direction. Why this so? Just a second. What you are saying? Where is the scoring going in the opposite direction? What do you wanted to say? See, the scoring in the case of Edman degradation is going in N to C direction. See, first you start from the N terminus and then you move into the C terminus. In the graph, you are pointing it out. Can you annotate it up? You can also write it over the graph. I am giving you the permission to write it over the graph, okay? And you can just write over the graph and you will be able to visualize it up. आप लिख सकते हैं ग्राफ के ऊपर, तो आप लिख के अपनी क्वेरी को बता सकते हैं, और या मैं आपसे इसके बाद में लेक्चर के बाद में इस क्वेरी को आंसर देता हूं. देखिए बात ओके सी व्हेन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट that how the sequencing is taking place, see this is the direction that is being used. This is the direction in which, see, you can see here 2, 6, 8, 12, 15. So this is the size of the protein. The size of the protein is increasing in this direction, so the sequencing is going on in this direction. Why you are taking it in opposite direction, I cannot understand. The sequencing going on in the simple right direction. Okay, if there would be other query, we can ask that. In graph in y-axis, you are saying that in graph in the case of y-axis, y-axis indicate the confidence level, beta. Y-axis indicate the confidence level. That does not indicate about the amino acid residue. The amino acid residue that is present and is making the Edman degradation is moving over the x-axis, not on the y-axis. Y-axis just indicate about the confidence level and nothing else. Okay. Now we are moving forward. Arti, what is so confusing in it? See, this, I am not teaching graduate students. I am teaching those students who really wanted to get some knowledge, because majority of these graphs will never be told to you, not even in Pathfinder and in your academic institutes. I'm teaching because majority of such students who really need help should work out with all these different graphs, and we can then analyze all these different graphs and make some contribution in the field of science and technology. So you will have to work out with me. Okay. Now, comparative amino acid sequencing can also be used in order to determine the sequence of protein. For example, trypsin could be effectively used. Trypsin can be used to break down the peptide bond in between lysine and aspartate. CNBR is going to break the peptide bond after methionine, in between methionine and cysteine. So supposingly there is an N terminus. This is N terminus. This is NH2 group. Okay. There is a group that is NH2 group present at aniline, and there is a carboxyl group, COOH group. Okay, this is carboxy group. Then trypsin is going to break towards the carboxy terminus of lysine, and cyanogen bromide is going to break towards the N terminus of cysteine. Cysteine का N terminus कहाँ पर होगा? यहाँ पर. तो cyanogen bromide यहाँ पर कट करेगा. और देखो ट्रिप्सिन कहाँ से कट करता है? C terminus की तरफ कट करता है. तो देखो लाइसिन के C terminus पे कट किया है. फिर से ट्रिप्सिन कहां पर कट करेगा? लाइसिन और अर्जिनिन के सी टर्मिनस की तरफ. तो देखो यहां पर कट किया, यहां पर कट किया ना, यहां पर इस वाले पॉइंट पे कट किया, तो ये सी टर्मिनस की तरफ कट करता है, एन टर्मिनस की तरफ कट करता है. ये बेसिक डिफरेंस है इनके बीच में. नेक्स्ट इसके आगे बढ़ते हैं हम लोग. डिटरमिनेशन ऑफ डाइसल्फाइड बॉन्ड पोजीशन, ये मैंने आपको पहले ही बता दिया है. दैट डाइसल्फाइड बॉन्ड पोजीशंस कुड बी इफेक्टिवली डिटरमाइंड by using the different methods, the reductive cleavage, the oxidative cleavage methods. Must remove these annotations. Okay. Now, last, that I have already told you, the last protein sequencing could be effectively carried out by Marley-Toff matrix assisted laser desorption ionization method, from which we can determine the structure of the protein. With this, I am just completing this particular topic of protein sequencing. Tomorrow we are going to discuss the different questions that have been asked from protein sequencing, and especially the tricks which are being used in order to illustrate in order to memorize all these points, where which amino acid will be cleaved by which peptidase. कौन सा peptidase किस amino acid को कहां पर cleave करेगा, और जो CSIR और बाकी नेट और ICMR और आपका IIT जैम या JNU के एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन जो क्वेश्चन आए हैं, उसे मैं कल की क्लास में डिस्कस करने वाला हूँ. So the class is all over. You will get the video recording of this particular lecture in the group only, and you will get the nothing confusing. Okay. So that's all for everyone. Hope you enjoyed the class, and we would be joining tomorrow also at the same time, where we would be talking about the structure of the DNA. From the structure of the DNA, we would be initiating our class, because the DNA is going to form the basis of molecular biology and everything. So we would be starting from the structure of DNA, topology, twist, width, etc. Everything we are going to cover it out there. So that we would be starting from tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow you will have another class of cell signaling also of KK sir, and majority of the teachers who would be teaching you would be all IITians. There would be KK sir from IIT Delhi, Shivangi ma'am from IIT Jodhpur, and another one is me myself, Dr. Nitin Wahi from Pathfinder Academy, and that's all for today. Okay, students, best of luck. Okay, Sheku, there is another question. Sir, please teach NGS, please say next generation. That would be completed in sequencing only, Sheku. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Your questions are always welcome. You can question me on WhatsApp and you'll get the recording of this particular lecture also. Thank you. That's all for today.